Welcome back to Pace. We have up next SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom any percent, run by SHiFT. I'm Mephistopheles.
I'm Red Moss.
And I'm SHiFT.
And I'm Isn't Pat.
I think we're ready to go here. All right. All right, timing starts when I select no on the file save preference. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Battle for Bikini Bottom 9%, a timeless classic. We have like, what, 13 years of history on this game now, 7 years of just like hardcore grinding, strat hunting. A lot has happened over the years, and especially this year. This has been the biggest year for discoveries and time saves in 8% since before the pandemic. So a lot of new stuff has been found, a lot of very technical and complicated stuff. And I got my buddies on the mic here to help me explain all of it. If one of you guys want to handle the hand disable, this is the biggest glitch in the game. You guys want to talk about it?
Alright, so the first thing SHiFT's going to be doing is the hand disable. So whenever you step out of bounds, Hans will come and grab you and reset the level. But there is a way to trick Hans into not grabbing you by abusing the game's memory, where if you load into a level while Hans is on the screen, the memory will think Hans is there throughout the rest of the game. And the game's coded so Hans can't just grab you in an infinite loop. And so now, whenever SHiFT steps out of bounds, Hans will not interfere. And you'll see he's about to jump and grab a spatula that he normally would not be able to reach without Hans being there.
All right, there we go. Yeah, this game's menuing system is far ahead of its time. Actually, this is the 20th year anniversary of this game. In 2003 it came out. It has a pretty nifty little pause menu where you can pause the game and warp to any mission you've already unlocked. But you can also unlock levels by not receiving their tasks from characters that give you these missions if you collect the spatula first. And as Meph was just explaining with the out-of-bounds spatula grab, we can actually grab the spatula out of bounds and abuse the fact that we unlock the warp by grabbing it to skip part of the level and get to the place where we get the mission early.
Ow! Ouch! Ow!
If anybody wants to explain what just happened there, that's you're going to be seeing a lot of those this run.
Yeah, that is a one-frame triple jump, essentially, by using the damage boost. SpongeBob has 1 frame after his damage animation, which the game thinks he's standing, so you can double jump while in the midair.
Yeah, and this game runs at a smooth 60 frames per second, so these are all 1/60th of a second precision jumps that we're going to do. A lot of them are very risky, but thankfully, since it's just a marathon run, we're just trying to show people the game. It's not that big of a deal if we miss them in this setting, but in an actual world record attempt, it's pretty tough. Usually it's a reset if one of those goes wrong. And you'll see a lot of times in this run we have cutscene skips by death. If you die during a cutscene, you can regain control when you respawn. And yeah, you'll probably notice there are a lot of damage boosts just like those. That particular one is actually not frame perfect though, because we can set it up to slide off a ledge to get extra frames to bash. So if it's in midair, it's usually frame perfect, and if it's not in midair, if we use the ledge to slide off, it means that there's like a setup to get extra frames. You probably also noticed that we're collecting these golden spatulas. The golden spatulas help us unlock new areas and eventually the final boss for 75. So when the counter says 75, that means we're ready to go to the final boss. And the socks you'll be seeing hidden around the game, you probably already noticed them already. They're hidden socks, and much like the Mario game that came out from this era, Super Mario Sunshine, you can trade 10 socks for 1 golden spatula. And those can be used to progress the actual game, because this game is non-linear. You can pick any spatula you want in any order. So as long as you get 10, you can unlock Goo Lagoon. As long as you get 15, you unlock the first boss, and so forth. So the socks actually do count toward progression in this game, and you'll see that we get a lot of them in very creative ways that were not intended by the developers.
You've just met the Sponginator. Sometimes pushing a simple button is satisfying.
Wrap it up,
Push,
Tiki's
push,
go
push,
boom.
push.
Yeah, that's like one of the only spatulas in the game that we actually do the intended way. Sort of. I mean, it's still AI manipulation, but it looks pretty casual the way it's done.
Yeah.
You also want to pay attention to the number in the upper right corner of the screen when that goes off. We need that number to be over 3,000 before we leave the Krusty Krab later in the run. It's very important to set off a chain of events that's going to allow us to get a lot of extra spatulas.
A couple more damage boost ones.
Yep, another one of those. Now these damage animations actually do impact the timing of the one frame jump, and I can predict which one's going to come next based on the one that previously happened. So in that particular instance, that was the particular animation that lasts for an extra 2 frames than the other 4. So I mistimed it. I did a little bit early. Yeah, the backup here, obviously in an actual attempt, this would be a reset, but we can actually just come up here as Sandy, who is one of the other characters we can use in the game. She has a gliding ability, which allows us to just kind of cut across here. Safety strap for a marathon in case you missed the frame perfect. Yeah, we don't really use Sandy too much in this game. She's actually a very slow character because she can't really utilize a lot of the speed boost, and she can't be used to set up one of the most important tricks later, unlike Patrick. So the 3 characters we use, Sandy is definitely used the least out of all of them. If you guys want to explain what's coming up here, this is another pretty major trick that we need SpongeBob to do as well. SpongeBob's the glitchiest character. He's the most fun to use.
Yeah, so this trick is called vertical momentum storage, and it allows us to transfer vertical momentum between loads to gain a lot of height. So let's see. And he got it, nice.
Yep. So if you pause and release your sponge ball on the same frame, you can store your momentum and then transfer it to another level. And then if you jump on the first frame, you enter the next level, you can transfer that momentum into a jump, which can just be transferred to any of these levels. As long as it's not something interrupting you like a cutscene. Probably grabbing this ledge here, yeah. Yeah, a lot of frame perfect tricks in this game. It's a pretty big buzzword in the community, but not all frame perfect tricks are created equally. Some of them are pretty lenient, some of them are very tough. It all depends on the setup and, of course, like how long a frame lasts. Like in that last situation that we just had there where you jump on the first frame, you load the level actually lags and the first frame is a bit longer than the frames following. So that particular jump is actually not 1/60th of a second, but it's still reasonably tight. You still have to know your timing of the loading zone and be able to know the pattern of the bubbles for each of the loading zones that we cancel things on. And there are several areas in this run where we have to do something on the first frame out of a load. So it's pretty important to memorize the loading times for each of these areas that we use and know the exact point when they will transition into the next level. One of my favorite details in this game is the jigsaw pieces that fall when you go down the levels of the lighthouse.
Yeah,
Catch
a
them a
nice
little bit
touch.
there. Yeah, all this stuff is very intentional. We have to get all these shiny objects in the upper right corner. We have to make sure that we're at 3,000 before we talk to Mr. Krabs later. And you probably noticed at the beginning of the run that we avoided Mr. Krabs intentionally and did not talk to him. And we could have just cut a clear line straight to Squidward's house and we climbed it. That's because we're going to set up a duplication glitch, or just for lack of a better term, we call it duplication in this community, where we're going to get extra spatulas that we were not intended to do. We're going to get glitch spatulas. So this is all part of that setup, and we're setting all this up as we're doing all these crazy tricks in the meantime. It's a very hands-on, interactive experience.
All right, and here we're going to get another VMS. This time we will be going to jump over the barrier that blocks you from accessing the second area of the hub world and get the spatula on top of Shady Shoals.
Yep. So there are 3 different areas in the hub world, and each one is unlocked by defeating a major boss. The first one that we're in now, that we actually can unlock, is unlocked by 15 spatulas, and you can see we have 11. We're here early. Very early, actually, but now we're just going to go straight over and skip the 40 gate over here that leads to the second boss fight. So yeah, we can just skip all the way to the end of the game here. But we can't go and fight the final boss just yet because we need 75 spatulas to enter the boss. There's no loading zone trigger behind the door, nothing like that. We have to just have a clean 75 count. So we have to still get 75. We're going to go all around the game, and we are now in the final unlockable level in the game this early into the run because we just skipped basically the whole game. But we still have to get everything else, though. We can't just skip everything without going back to it. And you'll see that later with the boss fights, and there's a good reason for why we go back to those boss fights, too. We'll explain that as well.
Yeah, so each hub has 3 different worlds you can go to. Fortunately, each one does have a world that doesn't have a spatula requirement. So this one, it's SpongeBob's Dream. So even though you technically need 40 spatulas in order to get to this area, after bypassing that, can still access this, and it opens up a lot of more routing opportunities.
Oh, this is rough. This is a very precise trick here. Okay. Nice. Okay. Yeah, it's of course another one of those frame perfect jumps, but that one you have to really like do this very precise spin wrap around the block with momentum to hit the very specific vertex of a spike to get launched up at the perfect time in order to make that jump.
And now time for another frame perfect
Nice.
damage jump.
Yep. All right, yeah, the back-to-back. The 2-time. Yeah, that's a big reason why it's very difficult to get a speed run in this game on a world record pace, because at least with the strats that we're currently running right now, you have to get back-to-back 1-frame jumps on both downtown and this level as well, while managing the shiny count and also dealing with the other frame perfects that aren't quite as precise, but still a bit bothersome. Sometimes they don't work. You know, they're not totally 100% consistent. But yeah, we're going to carefully, strategically hit all these robots up here. And you watch the counter go over 3,000. We're actually pretty early, so we don't have to wait for the robots to die. And once we see that message, we can leave here. Now, this part's a little bit confusing. So this spatula we just got is the one that we received for defeating the robots in the Krusty Krab. However, we also got another one in that situation, which we canceled by pausing the game and getting them at the same time, which allowed us to skip the second spatula animation. And the reason why we talked to Mr. Krabs there instead of the beginning of the game is all part of the duplication glitch that we have to set up. I gotta go for another frame perfect here, but I'll explain it during the boss fight, which we can now access as well.
All right, so what's coming up next is text storage. Okay, well, he missed it, but
Yeah.
if you hit it right, if you hit an NPC on the frame you talk to them, you can store the text, and when he approached this gate, he would have activated the text bubble and would have gotten the spatula animation during the gate animation.
Yeah, it's actually a double text storage because it stores the text for Patrick, we buy it. And then when we're buying the spatula, it stores the text for the Poseidon. So it's actually a frame perfect double text storage. Very, very cool. And it only saves 3 seconds, but that's actually a lot for an actual attempt. But you know, it's not going to make that much of a dent in a marathon run. So the dupe, let's talk about that. So when we bought that spatula back there, we bought it from an unintended section of the game where we didn't have the Mr. Krabs missions unlocked yet. So we've essentially just skipped the whole list of the Mr. Krabs missions, and we're going to be able to get a fresh one later, to put it in simple terms. However, there's something major that happened there that is going to impact the second dupe later if we're able to do that in this run, where the conditional statement that allows you to buy the second spatula has been left open. So buying the first spatula from Mr. Krabs outside the Krusty Krab leaves the second one open because it opened the first one. When the second one opens, the first one closes automatically. But because we talked to Mr. Krabs in the beginning of the game after buying that spatula, it opened the first one as well. So technically right now, we're capable of buying the first Krab spatula and the second Krab spatula, even though we already bought the first one. And you're going to see how this plays out later. It's actually pretty crazy how this actually even works. It's very, very particular. And when this was first discovered, it was not even like known how insane it is that this actually works. It really just comes down to one conditional statement getting left open that very well couldn't have, and the run would be 30 seconds slower as a consequence if that didn't work out. I know I'm talking a lot, but you probably are wondering why this particular spatula is so slow compared to the others, and why we're fighting this, because we already skipped it, and we skipped the other boss too. We have to fight that as well. And this is because the final cutscene that plays after this is over awards the player the Bubble Bowl, which is the first major power-up in the game, and is useful for 2 of the most important glitches in the entire run. There's actually a trick we can do to clip under the stage and get the spatula stored in the game early. But it actually loses time to do that because we need the bubble bowl to do a pretty important exploit or two later. And you'll see those later. We'll explain all those for you as well. But it's kind of a misconception that like we're trying to find a big way to like skip this boss. We already can skip it. What makes this game cool is that we have these 30-second average, like insanely fast spatulas in the first 10 minutes of the game, like bam, 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 we're constantly getting them. But the reason why we have to keep this in is just so interesting that it makes the whole rest of the game so much faster by doing this, that we would finish the whole run slower if we didn't do this slower one. That's just how important the spatula is to the run.
So I actually have a couple donations here. First one we got is from AK8 with $50. Here to support my favorite streamer and speedrunner. Unfortunately, won't be here to watch, but good luck nonetheless. I predict a 46-3x. Have fun.
Thank you, ma'am.
And we also have Jacob Mahaffey9 with $25. Good luck on the run. Glad to support a good cause. Movie.
Movie.
Hey.
I saw a movie shirt in the crowd. Yeah, so now we are going to start Goo Lagoon. This is where things really start to break. Every phase of this run has different movement as well. Like we unlock a little bit more movement because this bubble bowl move is momentum based, and then later we unlock the ability to glitch it and capture it by use of another trick, another bubble move that we can overlap on the same frame. So each phase of this run has its own different tricks and different cool little things you can do. Like this thing coming up if somebody wants to tackle that one. We've had this thing for a long time.
Alright, so this is early tower glide, which allows us to get to the island where the hammer bot is so we can kill him and get the spatula from Larry, connect the towers.
Yeah, this skips a massive section of just puzzle solving and cutscenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, normally you're supposed to kill that robot by reflecting the sun's beams using all these different lifeguard
And it's supposed
powers.
to be at the end of the level too, but we're actually just doing the level in the reversed order now because we use that damage boost / levitation glitch to float to the end of the level and do it in the reversed order, which you'll see as a big theme for a lot of these levels coming up. Like the Kelp Forest is a big one for that as well.
Clear amount bumper boats.
Yeah, massive sequence break. We still have to clear out the ticket booth later, because normally you clear the ticket booth and then you would have to clear out the bumper boats after, but we can do it in the opposite order. So we have to go here first. Yeah, this game's very open, but very carefully routed. Stuff is all in very specific spots. This next trick coming up is notorious, and it's actually gotten even more precise as of this year with some new routing. I'll explain all that later. If somebody wants to explain how this one works, though.
All right, so basically, this is called skee ball abuse, shortened to SBA. What he's trying to do here is take that stone tiki and line it up so that Patrick can throw it into the 30-point tiki hole, and then once it is safely in the right spot, you switch to SpongeBob and get right up there and bowl a tiki or bowl a bubble bowl into it, and it should get stuck inside the tiki. Keyword should.
Yeah, this one is very inconsistent, I'll say that.
Also, it's very loud. So yeah, see,
there
it
goes.
popped out really quickly there. Oh boy.
This is a classic. This is a Bikini Bottom classic. Alright, I'm a little bit concerned about this. The upper right corner count is actually purely visual. We can't actually tell how many we have from that. So I'm going to have to eyeball it and take a look at the flashing 30s in the center of the screen while I'm doing all this platforming to try and intuitively get an idea of how many I have. And this is important because there's a minimum and a maximum. If we go over a certain number, there's an entire spatula that we can't get later because we have to use a glitch to get it that doesn't work if the count is too high. So even if we had a glitch that just set the number to the max number for shinies, there's still no telling whether it would actually save time because we need the ability to like nitpick and like really get a precise value here. All right, so I can actually work with this here. I think it fell on its own. All right.
Yeah, so that actually worked out decently well. Popped out pretty close to around where you want it to be. So now SHiFT can go for well, if he had hit that Thunder Tiki,
Yeah, you can drown
actually,
into the spatula and skip the animation.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you can still make the jump fine. Not just lose it a little time, but doesn't matter.
Yeah, this is where the route starts to become a bit free-form at times. The number at the corner of the screen, 44033. So based on whatever number that is, like if you're running this particular route that does the double dupe, the runners would know what that means. Like usually there's a certain game plan that comes with a certain number that you get. So 4400, or around like a 44 flat, that means that we're going to get an extra sock and a large tiki stack on top of the sandcastle because we got a little bit of a low number. We're going to boost it up. In situations where you got too high of a number, though, you would avoid that and get a sock later to make up for it. Because what requires this sock to be fast is using a damage boost off the tikis, which also gives you shiny objects. So you can see how, if we're trying to restrict the range that we're going in, you'd see it be problematic if we get those shiny objects and go over the range that we're trying to just to get a sock. So we're just going to get a sock later in that situation. But in this run, we actually are going to get it, so you get to see an extra damage boost.
And we just got a donation from CD-ROM.
Yo.
$25. Hello from the front row. Glad to donate for a great cause. Keep your eyes wide open, chat. It gets even crazier. SHiFT is love, SHiFT is life, and always remember, movie.
Ooh. Movie. Yeah, I messed that up a little bit. I actually jumped the first possible frame that you can't jump. Like I hit the ground and I jumped on the first frame you touched the ground there. If I jumped literally a frame earlier, then I would have gotten it. Unfortunate, but yeah, there's another attempt to drown into the spatula. Yeah, the middle of this run has a lot of damage boosts. These next two coming up are fairly consistent, though.
Welcome to the dark.
Yeah, neither of these two are frame perfect, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, there actually is a frame perfect jump out of this one, though. It's a double damage boost, and the second one is frame perfect. But if you miss it like I just did there, you can just walk over. It's not the biggest deal in the world. Yeah, people love that one, though. It's very swag. Just a double.
Move on in the Bikini Bottom scavenger hunt. 3 years running. Thank you.
Yeah, in this situation, I'm also paying attention to the damage animations I was talking about earlier, where the one is 2 frames longer than the other. In that situation, I didn't have to adjust for it. But sometimes, if you get the one that's 2 extra frames, you have to take an extra hit. It makes it consistent to make that damage boost.
Your boy Steel has donated $30. So happy that this game continues to live on now 20 years after its release. Really looking forward to the Big 41. Good luck, SHiFT. Movie.
Thanks, man. Oh, all right, that kind of worked out. All right, got another spatula cancel here. All right, so I'm actually going to save the game here, which we normally wouldn't do in an actual attempt. But I can potentially crash the game with this trick, so...
Bubble. So that's bubble.
All right, not only did we not crash, we also got the glitch. So that's very good. You guys might be able to see this pan out. You might be able to see this glitch spatula that we do. Because sometimes if it doesn't work, then you can't see it. You have to get a different one in place of it. Obviously, in an actual attempt, that would be a reset if you don't get it, because it's like you're losing an entire spatula. But ooh, that was close. There's a lot to cover what just happened there, by the way. Okay. So what we just did there is we locked Mr. Krabs into his first buy, which makes it so he's just frozen on his first spatula. And if you reload the level, you can get him out of his glitch state, but the spatula conditional statement that allows you to buy it is still glitched. And normally, if you didn't do the first duplication glitch in the beginning of the game outside the Krusty Krab, where the condition opens for the second purchase, we wouldn't be able to continue buying all these spatulas because he'd just still be glitched and he'd be stuck on the first spatula. So because we did the first duplication, we unlocked the second one, then we went back to the beginning of the game and unlocked the first one so we can continue buying the spatulas. Normally you're only supposed to be able to buy 8 spatulas from Mr. Krabs, which we are buying 8 right now, plus the one that we got earlier, so you already know, like, something glitchy is going on. We already got 9. I'll go for oh nice, I got it. That's the first frame jump out of the spatula animation. It allows you to store the animation and enter the industrial park while collecting the spatula, saving a little bit of time, a couple of seconds.
Yeah, when you double jump and SpongeBob lands from the double jump, there's a little bit of a extra animation that if you walk, it'll be canceled, but if you don't do anything, he goes through that animation and he can't either enter the sponge ball or start a spatula animation until that animation's done. So you can jump out of it and keep moving without triggering either the sponge ball or the spatula animation.
Yeah, we actually didn't even explain sponge ball storage earlier. You guys are probably wondering how we were getting the sponge ball to activate on top of the tikis and the floating platforms and stuff, but that's exactly how it works. Just you can store it if you're locked in that animation, as long as you're not walking, as long as nothing's interrupting it. But to get back onto the dupe, so right now we have bought the 8 intended spatulas, and we had the first glitch spatula in our inventory as well. But because we also glitched the first spatula in the second part of the game with the Bubble Buddy text storage overlap, which again is also another frame perfect overlap where you talk to him on the frame that the bubble wand hits him. If you do that too early, if you cancel the text box with the text storage too early, you crash the game. If you don't get the storage at all, you just can't get that spatula. It's just gone forever. But luckily we hit the frame and we didn't crash the game, so we're going to be able to potentially show it off this run as long as we meet some conditions. So like I said, we left the first one open because we glitched the spatula, and then we were able to continue buying them because of the first dupe that we bought in the run. So because the first one is still buyable, if we walk into Mr. Krabs' range later into the game with under 3,000 shiny objects, you'll be able to purchase another one. So we have to keep this shiny count below 3,000 after Sand Mountain, where we spend 3,000. So see how we're under 6,000? We're at 5,600 right now. We're going to spend 3,000 on Sand Mountain unlocking gates, and then the rest of it, the 2,600, we're going to keep that and try to keep it as close to 3,000 but not over it as possible. And then on the way to the Kelp Forest, we're going to meet Mr. Krabs, and he's going to open up the mission, and then we're going to buy the spatula later after Graveyard. But if at any point the spatula, this shiny count on the upper right corner, if it goes over 3,000 after Sand Mountain, we cannot buy the spatula. It has to be under 3,000. So that's a big part of the game. Is when you're on world record pace, you're trying to manage and micromanage these shiny object collections and making up for the SBA that may not have gone perfectly, which it never does because it's SBA. And you're also trying to do all these really, really precise tricks in the movement as well while you're doing all this. So it's a pretty hands-on run. It's really sweaty. Very, very focused, heavy.
That does it. SpongeBob
And it only gets faster from here, so buckle in. After this boss fight, we're going to get access to cruise boosting, which I'm sure most people who've been watching this game for years, they already know what that is. But this year we actually have a new type of cruise boost. It was TAS only for a while, but we've managed to get some setups that can be used RTA in various areas. So we're going to be showing off a couple of those in this run.
Absol13 has donated $10. Great to see Bob back in pace again. Good luck on the run. Movie.
Thank you, ma'am. Movie.
And we also have a $25 donation from Kano Fensa. Much love from Vienna, and thank you for the hours of fun and entertainment every day. Also, big thank you to Pace. You guys do a great job.
Thank you, boss.
The robot better change tactics and
Yeah, if you're curious, we're actually doing a very intentional manipulation here. We're trying to get him to spin in the corners of the map. Actually, this strat is really, really good. It's been around for like 6 years now, and the way that we do it, he actually can't land in the back of the stage. It's extremely, extremely unlikely, to the point where it's nearly improbable that he can only land on the 3 sides, so it makes it much more manageable. All right. Now we've unlocked the cruise bubble, the final power-up in the game. And we already discussed this. So you can overlap it to make some weird things happen in this game.
Say hello to my little bubble friend.
Just gonna reload that. There's a fast cycle in this level that is pretty tough to meet.
All right, so there is our first cruise boost. You may notice SpongeBob is moving forward a lot faster, and he's also turning slower. So what happened is SHiFT activated the bubble bowl and cruise bubble on the same frame, and the cruise bubble cancels the bowling animation, but it still thinks SpongeBob's bowling. So he's being pushed forward from the momentum from that, and it also slows down his turn like it is when you normally are bowling.
You're gonna be fast nut.
All right. I'm not going to go for it again because this particular one frame doesn't have any indication of whether it's too early or too late. You're kind of just like, especially on a monitor that you're not used to playing on, I'd rather show this off.
This is an old trick.
The OG strat.
Oh yeah.
The classic.
Let's go. Texas SpongeBob.
Yeah, fast nut is another frame perfect trick, but unlike the jumps where you can tell based on whether you don't get an animation. All right, so I forgot that you get shiny objects from that, so we went over 6,000. I should have gone around it. I've never had to do this in a run before because obviously it's a reset if you mess that trick up once. So all right, you know what I can do? Hold on, I can actually do something about this.
Oh yeah, using the SpongeBob's closet.
You're a genius.
Good thinking.
This might actually be a big issue if. You know what? Let's just see how it goes because we got his.
I mean, there is another door you can unlock in SpongeBob's house.
Yeah, we'll just do that. I think 20 is not going to be enough though. You might see it at some point during this playthrough, but there actually is a frame perfect L press you can do on those spatulas to keep control of your camera, and because SpongeBob moves toward the camera when he collects a spatula and has a cruise boost active, you can actually control him while he's moving he's collecting a spatula. It's called L control. You might see that at some point.
That's a trick that was found by accident during a run.
Yep.
SHiFT is the one who found it. Just happened to press L at the right time, and then also happened to wiggle the control stick. So this cruise boost is interesting. It's using the traits of this SHiFT, where if you walk at full speed, they shrink, and so that stone tiki will drop on you, and you can use the displacement from it to, if you cruise boost at just the right frame, you get a ton of speed, as you can see right here. He's
It's just
flying across
being
the
pushed
map.
out in one frame. Get pushed out in one frame. As fast as you're going on that particular frame, if you capture that frame, that's how fast you move. All right, for some reason this is not. Okay, wait. Nice. All right, we got the spatula overlap. Let's go.
My best time. Here's a
Nice.
Let's go. All right, that's a double. Yeah, that particular cruise boost, you'll see that again later, but we're actually uncapping the former limit to how fast the cruise boost can go with that special setup we do with the jumping and spinning. Alright, you guys are going to see another swag trick here because I didn't get enough speed on this one. Hopefully I don't get stuck. But yeah, that is an example of an LCB, a ledge cruise boost, which is the same thing as a displacement one where you get pushed by the tiki, as Meph was explaining earlier, except we get our momentum from falling off a ledge and cruise boosting on the exact frame that we touch the ledge. All right, the glide. Nice.
Nice.
right, there we go. Yeah, there are a lot of invisible walls we can take advantage of. Thankfully, that one is at the perfect height to land on it, based off the sponge glide we got from getting stuck on the wall back there. So yeah, we've gone over a displacement cruise boost, and in that particular situation, it's an uncapped displacement cruise boost, or UCB for short, as we call it now. And the LCB is off a ledge. Now, for the LCBs, the angles can be a little bit more lenient. You just have to adjust your stick angle and your camera angle based on the angle that you're getting. But with the UCBs and DCBs in general, there is no leniency with that, unfortunately.
Here we are in Mermalair.
You have to get an exact perfect angle to get to a DCB/UCB. So what I should have done there is go to the pineapple and buy the door.
Squid.
But I'll actually just do that in a second, because there's a hammer robot that usually dies off the side of the map. You can manipulate him to not do that if you're really tight on the shiny count, but I don't want to take the risk because I want to show off the spatula. So I'm willing to lose a little bit just to make sure that this works. Also, actually, this works out perfectly because we're gonna have 50 spatulas. Yeah, this actually works out perfectly. Totally intended, by the way.
So this trick is something similar across a couple of the bosses, but not all of them. What SHiFT did there was he jumped into a leftover debug trigger that the devs left into the game that immediately ended the boss fight. So Robo Patrick, Robo Sandy don't have them, hence why we fought them. The Flying Dutchman has one, but we don't fight him in the any % run anymore. And the final boss also has one.
Yep. All right, we're gonna do our little cheese here.
Make a little bounce on the old bed.
All right. So we're under 3,000. Now if we go into range of Mr. Krabs, that little pull the R trigger to talk thing there means that we have activated it. We're under 3,000. He's aware that we are able to buy spatulas, so. We're gonna do the kelp forest first, and then we're gonna go back to the Mermalair. Yeah, coming up is another LCB here.
The tubelets actually, based on your Xbox's internal clock, will have different color flames based on certain days. So, for instance, the red, white, and blue 4th of July just passed.
There we go. Yeah, some of these have all weird setups that we've made up over the years just to make them barely work. If you've ever seen a 100% speedrun, there are like 10 of them. They're like all really weird and have all different kinds of setups. That over there is a first frame jump out of death, which allows us to start spatula animation, just like we did with the other spatula before, and we can open the door while watching it, just to avoid another one of those spatula animations. This is a classic. Just getting the time challenge, jumping into the teleport box, and then just finishing it without having to actually do the actual challenge. Just like that. It was my first time marathoning the double dupe route, so I didn't even consider that. I was going to glide past these sandy floating tikis, but this ended up working out kind of. A little messy, but you guys get to see the rest of the game. So yeah, like this is the same thing as Jellyfish Fields, where we collect the spatula at a part of the level we're not supposed to, and then use the warp to go back to the part that you were supposed to get the mission from. So we're just doing the entire kelp forest in the reverse direction. A classic for some of these more linear levels. The one that we don't do it for, though, is the Dutchman's Graveyard. That one's pretty linear, but it is arguably the coolest part of the run, so you have that to look forward to as well.
We have other ways of breaking that level.
Yeah. Alright, so now we're going to go finish the rest of Mermalair.
Yeah, I've read it about.
Yeah, this controller still isn't broken in. It's a miracle. It's been almost like 2 months.
Say hello to my fellow friend.
All right, another classic up here. Anybody else dislike this puzzle?
Yeah.
It's harder than it looks. There we're doing a frame-perfect elbow, which is using the L trigger, the cruise bubble, and the bubble ball in the same frame with momentum to harness the speed of us getting pushed out of the cage to clip through it, because you have a frame of intangibility where you can clip through stuff. Yeah, we're doing this now, right?
So those wheels that we collected earlier, if you get all 11, you do get a spatula for them, but you can actually make use of how the game processes memory to go to another level, and then you can pause the timer that they use to reset the memory on how many of those you have to get this level's collectible, which in Rock Bottom is the paintings, and since you're right next to Mrs. Puff, you'll activate a trigger that tells the game that you have enough paintings to get the spatula.
If you guys have watched the world record for this game that was just set around last week, something really crazy happened in this level, Rock Bottom. If you were there for it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you got something to watch now, because it was definitely something. Yeah, there's also a frame-perfect spatula cancel you can do on this as well. If you press the R trigger on the exact frame, touch the spatula, you can enter the level without having to watch the animation, but it's pretty tough.
What do you want?
So that stock routing is actually found yesterday. You can use the invincibility given by Barnacle Boy's text box to get down there and get it, and then get back up just in time to still be able to get the cycle you need to get through here.
Yeah, this is a pretty crucial part of the run too, because this is where we make the choice based on how many shiny objects we have. If we're under 3,000 by a long shot, we actually go up on that balcony and hit those and activate those tikis to blow them up and get more shiny objects from them. But because I had over 3,000 already from all the shenanigans that happened earlier, I was able to just do a damage boost. It saves a little bit of time. This is the same deal as the wheels. Yep. Yeah, collectible counter abuse, same as the paintings. We got the campers for not getting them either. And now that we have 3,000 and we're at this part of the game, this should work, where we buy the 10th spatula from Mr. Krabs. There's a neat little optimization where if you do this the right way, you can get pushed into the dumpster. Looks like I'm going to be a little bit off, though. Really weird side of the Krusty Krab geometry there. All right, this is the home stretch. We've made it to the graveyard.
The graveyard.
All right, so this is going to be another uncapped DCB. And this one, you break those two bottom wood tikis, and then try and get the cruise boost when the top wooden tiki falls on you.
This is another frame perfect plus angle perfect trick. And the movement is like pretty weird too. You gotta be really precise with this one. There we go.
Nice.
And now you're moving fast enough that you can just clip through any wall in the game.
Yep, that's part of the uncapped deal too. Because previously we'd cap out at around halfway from 28 to 29 in terms of speed points. For reference, 5 points is SpongeBob's base speed, his base running speed. A normal cruise boost where you just go off a wall is 10. So this is going 30 or higher. These range from 30 to 50 in this level. For the Sand Mountain one, I didn't mention this, but we actually do intentionally get a slower speed, like an exact speed, because we don't want to clip through the gate immediately. That's for the spatula overlaps. That one's really precise.
So these speeds are actually, they have a unit of measurement. It's not just arbitrary numbers. I believe the 5 is how many SpongeBobs per second SpongeBob moves forward.
Yeah, that's more of like headcanon, I think, though, because like
But
it just happens.
it lines
to be,
up
It lines
that
up.
way.
Yeah, we called it like bobs per second
Bobs
because
per
it's like
second.
it just happens to be that way. Like how many SpongeBobs he walks in distance per second. This is another one of those skips, by the way, where you just get a spatula and warp to the destination. But yeah, that graveyard trick is crazy though. Like if you miss that at the end of a run, that's like basically just dead run. It was like 15 seconds for one miss. So you can just spend weeks at a time trying to get past all the craziness that we had to get through to get here, and then just lose it to missing it by 1 frame right at the end. So it's extremely clutch to get that at the end of a run and then not choke. By the way, just for those of you who are watching this and you're like, well, this looks really fun, like, it sounds really intimidating because of all the precise tricks, but it sounds like a lot of fun. You're in luck because a lot of these precise optimizations don't save a lot of time. They're like within seconds, so if you'd like to give the game a shot someday as a speedrun to try, it's a lot of fun. Most beginners average in like the 1 hour and 10 minutes to 1 hour and 40 minute range. Reasonably like decently long speedrun, mid-length, once you get better at it. And the tutorial strats are still really fun, but they're not nearly as demanding as the stuff that we're doing in this run.
Yeah,
Everybody runs all different routes in this game. It's like really cool.
Yeah, SHiFT has a really good beginner tutorial on his YouTube channel. And also, you don't have to run this on an OG Xbox. It is the fastest in terms of load times, but you can run it on GameCube and PS2, and we also allow the Dolphin emulator.
And that'll do it for Graveyard. So we have a couple more spatulas to get. Of course, the sock trade, but the next one's actually really cool. We actually have a last second, like within milliseconds, we're going to get this spatula if we time it just the right way. So we're going to touch the spatula, and the counter at the top of the screen is going to turn to 75 right as we go into the trigger. If we do it just the right way. There we go. So we unlocked the door the exact moment it turned on, and we can enter the door, having skipped watching that cutscene that opens the door. That's what Beth was explaining earlier. Yep.
Looks like SpongeBob may have a moment to act here. Go see. Will SpongeBob
Now, normally you would have to go through all around all the different platforms, fight a bunch of robots, but why do that when you can just clip inside the robot's brain?
This strat is very, very risky too. Like these clips are pretty inconsistent, and the one at the end is notorious for causing soft blocks at the end of runs. Although I appreciate that this game doesn't just have like a victory lap at the end of its run, it actually has something that requires skill and can also keep the viewers on their toes. It never really stops until you hit the final fuse, which, by the way, time. I feel like it's always going to be a 47 whenever we do these events. That was fun. Not expected. I mean, this route is much more freeform. A lot of the time you have to make a lot of decisions on the fly and change things up. Didn't expect that thing to happen with the floating tikis, but, you know, I thought we showed off a lot of the strats that we wanted to show off. It's a lot of fun. Thanks, Red Moss, for helping commentate, and Meth as well, and Pap, who's he's home. He's not with us today, but he's in the call, hanging out with us, playing some SpongeBob. And for those of you who are wondering, yes, I'm doing another subathon this year. It's going to be themed based around the SpongeBob games with some other hit classics such as, you know, the ones we all remembered, such as March of the Penguins for Game Boy Advance.
Billy the Wizard.
Yeah, a lot of really great games that we're all going to enjoy. So that's coming up. Thanks, guys, for watching. And for those of you who came here in person, I've got the stuff to give away now. So appreciate you guys for coming out today. Thank you.